All right, so we're now in June, so it's time for another market monthly update as it pertains to the real estate market here in the Seattle and Bellevue region. So first of all, I want to address the big bruise on my nose. My 2-year-old now has a fireman helmet that he refused to take off, and he accidentally headbutted me and has been bleeding every day since then. So I wanted to address that, let you know I'm not being abused at home and all is good. Now, let's get back into the real estate thing. There's so much going on, right? And I think you can't even look in any direction and not be overwhelmed between the interest rates and the potential housing market crisis everyone's talking about, and the stock market doing poorly, and the inflation. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. As always, I'm gonna keep this very high level. If you want any specifics or data or how many homes sold last month, any of that stuff, reach out to me and I'm happy to produce all of that information for you and we can have that discussion. But at a high level, here's what I see going on. Things are definitely shifting and we are moving towards more of a balanced market, which I think it's a really good thing for everybody. It's good for buyers, it's good for sellers, it's good for real estate market in general, because what we all got used to over the last few years was madness, and those are not normal market conditions, right? So what's driving it? The big thing is interest rates, right? So the inflation is out of control. The new consumer price index report that came out just last week was higher than anyone expected. It surprised a lot of economists. So the federal government is still not able to put a cap on inflation. As a result, just yesterday, the federal government raised interest rates by 0.75 points. And that's the largest increase since 1994. And that generated a lot of panic, a lot of buzz. It caused the mortgage rates to shoot up, as well as any other basically loan product, right? So now we're looking at a 30-year fixed conventional mortgage is about 6.25%, which is historically still actually a really good rate if you look at the history of the last 50 years. But if you compare it to 3-4 months ago, it's very different, right? And that's understandable. So in addition to that, the home prices we're having more and more inventory, but the sellers are still pricing their homes at a price that they want to sell versus where the market suggests that they should price, right? Or at a price that the home would actually sell. So we're seeing a lot of inventory. We're seeing inventory staying on the market for longer. We're starting to see a ton of price reductions as they're not getting showings or interest or offers. They eventually come down to reality, right? And I think that's gonna be a trend that's gonna continue for a little while. So if you're looking to sell your home, I think it's more important than ever that you really take the time to make sure your home stands out, whatever that means for your particular situation, right? Don't be cheap. Make sure it's painted, clean up the landscaping. The days of just putting a sign in front of the house in any house and it going the same weekend are far gone. And you have to understand that buyers today have a lot more options. And if you want them to buy your home versus a home down the street, it's on you to make it stand out. Also, don't overprice. That will be the thing that will hurt you the most. And I understand how emotionally, if you saw what you could have sold it for in January or February, and now you have to really swallow your pride and come in at a lower number, I understand it's hard to comprehend, but that's just the reality. You will not get the price that you would have gotten in January or February, right? So if you price it correctly and if your home shows beautifully and stands out, those homes are still moving rather quickly and there's still competition, right? And in general, it's a supply and demand game, right? Even though it seems like we're being overwhelmed with more inventory, it's inventory that doesn't present well. It's average homes that are overpriced. And the buyers today are smarter, and because it costs them more to get into a home than it did a few months ago, they're being more picky. So if you do things right on your end, you will still sell your home and you'll still do well. If you're a buyer, again, I know it's a tough pill to swallow when you see the rate you could have gotten a few months ago, but you didn't, and today it's much higher. And I'm empathetic, I get it. It's a different, you probably can't buy as much of a home, or if you want the same quality of a home, you will be paying more monthly. But again, that's just the harsh reality, right? I think it's important to remember that historically, the rates we have today, even though they're in the low sixes, are still very good rates. The 2-3% that we've seen is not normal, right? So we shouldn't have gotten used to it, and we should not have expected that it's gonna continue forever. So I think it's more important for you to determine what's the right home for you and your family, and especially if you see yourself living there for the next 5 years, 7 years, or whatever the time frame might be, you will always look back and feel smart if you bought today. I can almost guarantee you. And the right home is going to be there for, basically you're going to get into it and live there for as long as you want to, but the rates will eventually come back down and you will have an opportunity to refinance and lower that payment. But don't sit on the sidelines between now and then just waiting for the bubble to burst. The bubble is not bursting, I can promise you that. There's still not enough inventory to meet the demand of homes. And now, even if it seems like the prices are dipping, perhaps they are a little bit, but I must remind you that if you look at some of my videos from 6 months ago, 8 months ago when I was doing these monthly market reports, we've seen areas where homes appreciated by 40% in a matter of 12 months. That's not normal, right? So now if we go from that 40% appreciated max and we're, 10% lower than that, it's still, the real estate housing market continues to trend upward. It always has done so historically, and if you ride it out, it'll always be a good investment, right? And it'll help you hedge against inflation, and there's many other benefits. So to kind of summarize all of this, right? Whether you're buying or selling, I guess I would just encourage you to don't buy into the propaganda. The news are doing a really good job of scaring the crap out of everybody. Yes, the stock market is struggling. There's lots of things to consider in this world, right? So instead of being very speculative or making emotional decisions or being pissed off that you lost out on something or you didn't buy or you didn't sell earlier, take all of that out of the equation and figure out what's the right move for you and your family today. And with that approach, I believe that you will make a wise decision. And as a buyer, you have more options, and even though you're paying more, it's likely you can find the right house. You don't have to compete, beat everyone, and overpay to ultimately maybe be a wash. So that's what's going on today. Again, I must remind you, if you want more specific information, reach out to me anytime. I'd love to have the conversation. If there's anything that I can do, or if you want me to share with you about any specific neighborhood or pocket or city here in the Pacific Northwest, I would also be happy to do that. And I'll catch you next month.